Shalom. I'll start by giving all the praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushai Ba'ashem, Rawachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to all the fellow laborers of the hopeful elect tabernacle of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And I was watching Elder Apostle Tahar's premiere where he was actually responding to this live stream. You had a deacon, the deacon, he was dealing with this Raphael Israel dude, who we saw, come around us a few years ago. I think he had to learn from the brothers in Dallas and, different other brothers. And then out of nowhere, the dude just started bucking up, coming against, some of the doctrine. And when his ass got rebuked, his feelings got hurt. And, all of a sudden he became victim and, brothers hate him and this and that and the third, turned into a big weirdo. So, we got on the dude, some of the doctrines he was coming with. And, he'd been offended ever since. And now he's been moving on his own. And that's why the Apostle Tahar, named his video, you can't, come up, some other kind of way, you know. And that's basically what he's doing. He's trying to move on his own, trying to climb up another way. And he's lost, as you can see. He's lost. And that's why the scriptures tell you, when it comes to getting an understanding of these scriptures, you're supposed to trust in the Lord with all thy heart and lean not into thine own understanding. And he's having an issue because the spirit ain't dealing with him. All right. So I paused it where he's trying to go into Ezekiel, the 32nd chapter, to try to prove that this hell doctrine exists. He's preaching a Christian doctrine now. He's supposed to be an Israelite. He learned from us, but now you're moving into the territory of Christianity. All right, and that's why the prophecy, not the prophecy, the epistle, when you go to the book of Ephesians, is why you got to be rooted and grounded. And when you without the body, you can fall victim to being tossed to and fro. Let's get Ephesians 4, and I'll start at verse, let me see. Yeah, Ephesians 4, and I'll start at 11. It says, and he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Yahushai, till we all come in the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of the Most High, to a perfect man, and to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Hamashiach, that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine. And this, you can fall victim to this if you're not grounded, if you're not founded upon that solid ground, that foundation. These winds of doctrines can blow you around and cause you to be lost like this guy. And he's going to continue to be lost because he will not humble down. Because we already got on this dude before. So this is where he's at now. He believes in hell. All right, he was teaching that there's going to be some left behind doctrine where the Lord's going to come twice. He's going to come get the 144,000 and then leave the rest of the elect and the other people down on the earth, and they're going to go through. It was just a bunch of madness, and we addressed it. Now he's teaching a Christian dogma. But anyway, I'll finish the verse. It says, by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness whereby they lie in wait to deceive. That's what can happen, man. All right, that's why you got to be grounded in these scriptures. You got to study to show thyself approved and lean not upon your own understanding. So, real quick, let's listen, and then we'll go into it, because this is what he's trying to use to teach hell. And you're going to see that this guy's understanding is totally off.
How do you interpret eon to eon? What does that mean to you?
Age to age.
So does that mean perpetual? So that mean, like, if I say day and night, you shall serve the Lord, day and night, the priest shall do the office day and night. Does that mean like forever, or does that mean, what does that mean?
I mean, it can be for a time. Sometimes forever doesn't mean forever. It's all about the context. So if you could show me the context, I can tell you if it means for a time, for an age, or perpetually.
Okay, because I just wanted to know if forever and ever. That seems like eternity to me. So now let's get to.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's go to Ezekiel 32 and 21, and we're gonna go down to verse 23, and I can read it.
Go ahead.
It says, "The strong among the mighty shall speak to him out of the midst of hell, with them that help him. They are gone down. They lie uncircumcised, slain by the sword. Assure is there, and all her company. His graves are about him, all of them slain, fallen by the sword, whose graves are set in the sides of the pit, and her company is round about her grave, all of them slain, fallen by the sword, which caused terror in the land of the living." So the reason why I went here is that we see that Ezekiel, our beloved brother, the author or who wrote this book, can you go into the Hebrew and look at that word in 21, verse 21 for hell? That's Sheol. And then look at verse 22, verse 23. And look at that word in the Hebrew for grave. So we got two different words here in the Hebrew when I looked it up.
All right,
and I'm wanting, 23. And I'm wanting to know, why is it that Ezekiel didn't just use Sheol for grave in verse 23?
Okay, so
If that's what it means, if that's really what Sheol means.
And its allies. And then it says their graves are in the depths of the pit. So in the Hebrew, it's two different words.
Correct, but they both mean grave. So that means that Sheol has a deeper meaning to it, brother.
Well, I mean, there's a deeper concept to it than just the grave. It can be used about the afterlife, but the afterlife doesn't mean. Let me explain. The afterlife doesn't mean somewhere burning in hell, alive.
Sheol just let's go to
sometimes. Let me explain. Sometimes Sheol is used as the grave where your bones will be and you will decay. Sometimes Sheol is used in reference to your afterlife or going to the spirit world. But in truth, all Sheol is technically is just the grave.
So then why do we have two different words in Hebrew for grave, if that's all that it means?
Well, I mean, it doesn't. So where in this is it indicating or indicative of a place burning in hell? Because where is
I
saying,
never said that.
Okay, but that's what you're alluding to, right?
All I'm saying, let's go to the book of Jonah. Jonah will explain it. You already know where we're going to go.
No, I want to be straightforward, brother. Are you alluding to that there's a place where you burn on fire forever?
As of it stands right now, no. That place does not exist right now.
Okay, so I told you that there's the initial definition of Sheol, which is the grave. Then there's the concept of the afterlife, but that has nothing to do with your body burning underneath the earth. I don't know how
I don't believe that to be true either, brother. We are in agreement.
Okay, then let me ask you then, why is there two different words here then?
Okay, let's go to the book of Jonah.
All right, go ahead. What chapter?
Okay, see, and this would have happened when you lack understanding, but you think you're on a level and you confuse yourself. Then you get to, well, I'm gonna hit this scripture, I'm gonna hit this precept and that precept, leaning upon your understanding. All you're gonna do is wrestle with the scriptures until your own destruction. That's why Paul said, "Not a novice, lest being lifted up with pride fall into the condemnation of the devil." So what does Jonah being in the belly of the whale, the fish, all right, where it says that he was in hell for 3 days, in the belly of the whale. What does that have to do with Ezekiel 32, where it talks about Egypt being brought down to the grave? It's no different than the taunt that the Lord gave to the king of Babylon in Isaiah the 14th chapter, which we know that the king of Babylon, which it represents the rulers of this particular empire of the West. All right, really, Babylon the Great, America. All right, but when that taunt was made, was that saying that America's going to go down into this place called Sheol? Is that talking about the rulers of this society? Are they going to go down into a place called Sheol? What is he simply trying to say here, man? So let's deal with that. Let's go to Ezekiel 32, because what he's not getting is, this was history where Pharaoh, the king of Egypt at the time, he was he was very pompous because the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, he wouldn't basically took down all these nations because it was set up for him to rule at the time. He went and took down all the nations, including Judah and Jerusalem, and this was shortly after. And Egypt was still left standing, and they still had everything in position. They thought that they was, because they was the last one standing, that was very proud. So this is a lamentation to Pharaoh over Egypt for having that pompous attitude. And Judah, tried to make pacts with Egypt, trying to put trust into the armies of Egypt, and that's why the Lord um, prophesied against Judah for that. Woe to you that go down to Egypt for help. Because shortly after we got took down by the Babylonians came and smashed Egypt. So now that you understand the history, let's go to the point. I'll read the first couple verses. It says, "And it came to pass in the 20th year, in the 12th month, in the first day of the month, that the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, take up a lamentation for Pharaoh king of Egypt, and say unto him, Thou art like a young lion of the nations, and thou art as a whale in the seas." Right? Meaning you was used amongst the nations, you was Mr. Big Shot. You was very mighty, very strong, right? And thou camest forth with thy rivers, and troublest the waters with thy feet, and foulest their rivers. Thus saith the Lord power, I will therefore spread out my net over thee with a company of many people, and they shall bring thee up in my net. So this is the Lord's doing. All right. Thus saith the Lord power, I will therefore spread out my net over thee with a company of my people, and they shall bring thee up in my net. Then I will leave thee upon the land, and I will cast thee forth upon the open field, and I will cause all the fowls of the heaven to remain upon thee, and I will fill the beasts of the whole earth with thee. So this is the Lord pretty much basically telling them that this is what I'm getting ready to do to you, because you was this bold, and you felt secure in all his power, because the line of the Gentiles hasn't came through. Well, this is what I'm gonna do. This is how I'm gonna leave you. You mighty in those waters. Well, I'm gonna cast you out of those waters and leave you upon land to dry out for the beast to devour you. All right, meaning you're not gonna remain in this position. It says, and I will lay thy flesh upon the mountains and fill the valleys with thy height. I will also water with thy blood the land wherein thou swimmest, even to the mountains, and the river shall be full of thee. You're going to leave them in ruins. It says, and when I shall put thee out, I will cover the heaven and make the stars thereof dark. Is this all literal? Is this all literal? He's just describing how he's going to leave them in ruins because everybody else were brought down by the king of Babylon. The Babylonians made war with all these different nations and took them down because it was their time to rule. All right. It says, I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon shall not give her light. All the bright lights of heaven will I make dark over thee, and set darkness upon thy land, saith the Lord power. It's almost like he's describing how he's gonna he's using um the symbolic references of how he plagued ancient Egypt. Because remember, he did bring darkness upon ancient Egypt. So he's using the analogy of how he did the ancient Egyptians and telling the modern Pharaoh at this particular time, this is what I'm gonna do to you. I'm gonna make it very dark for you. All right. It says, I will also vex the hearts of many people when I shall bring thy destruction among the nations into the countries which thou hast not known. All right. Now let me yeah, let me keep reading. And it is verse 11. Let me read verse 10, and then 11 is the point. This is how the Lord's going to basically bring Pharaoh of Egypt down. And you can read about the history of the battle of Carchemish, all right, how the Babylonians took him down. It says, yeah, I will make many people amazed at thee, and their kings shall be horribly afraid for thee, when I shall brandish my sword before them, and they shall tremble at every moment, every man for his own life in the day of thy fall. For thus saith the Lord power, the sword of the king of Babylon shall come upon thee. By the swords of the mighty will I cause thy multitude to fall, the terrible of the nations, all of them, and they shall spoil the pomp of Egypt, and all the multitude thereof shall be destroyed. So this is what he's describing. So when you read further down, you're going to see why he used those terms, hell. All right. It ain't saying that Egypt is going to be brought into another realm. All right. Like the Christian church, the Christian church teaches. Sheol does not mean a whole nother realm. Sometimes hell could be a state or condition where when you're in the state of torment or misery, and then at certain times, depending on the context, it's talking about the grave in the ground, which is where all bodies go after death. We all return to one place, but our spirit goes upward, and and our body goes down into the earth. But let's keep going. It says, by the swords of the mighty will I cause thy multitude to fall, the terrible of the nations, all of them, and they shall spoil the pomp of Egypt, and all the multitude thereof shall be destroyed. I will destroy also all the beasts thereof from beside the great waters. Neither shall the foot of man trouble them any more, nor the hoofs or beast trouble them. Then will I make their waters deep, and cause their rivers to run like oil, saith the Lord power. That's almost like the Lord is describing, like I'm gonna even make your rivers mourn like running tears. Instead of raging waters, troubled waters, they're gonna run smooth like tears. All right. When I shall make the land of Egypt desolate, and the country shall be destitute of that whereof it was full, when I shall smite all them that dwell therein, then shall they know that I am the Lord. Because you can't be pompous against the Most High. You lose. And every nation that did that, the Lord brought them down. And the Lord set he set the bounds that they cannot pass anyway. Every nation have a set time to rule, but they also have a set time where they're going to fall too. It says, this is the lamentation wherewith they shall lament her. The daughters of the nation shall lament her. They shall lament for her, even for Egypt, and for all her multitude, saith the Lord power. It shall come to pass also in the 20th year, in the 15th day of the month, that the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, wail for the multitude of Egypt, and cast them down, even her, and the daughters of the famous nations, unto the nether parts of the earth, meaning, bring them down to naught. Bring them down from power. You have no place. All right. The nether parts of the earth with them that go down into the pit. All right. It says, whom doest thou pass in beauty? Go down and be thou laid with the uncircumcised. All right. Basically, all the other heathen nations, you know, who are pretty much been brought down. They've been desolate. They've been in ruins. All right. It says, they shall fall in the midst of them that are slain by the sword. She is delivered to the sword, draw her and all her multitudes, all her armies. They all gonna get slayed. So they're not exempt from the king of Babylon putting the smack down. It says, the strong among the mighty shall speak to him out of the midst of hell with them that help him. They are gone down, they lie uncircumcised, slain by the sword. Ashur is there in all her company. His graves, it says, his graves are about him, all of them slain, fallen by the sword. Because he took down Assyria and Egypt, and they was making pacts together with each other, and still lost. It says, whose graves are set in the sides of the pit, and her company is round about her grave. All of them slain, fallen by the sword, which caused terror in the land of the living. Meaning, all these other nations, they were already put down. Their armies got slaughtered. They got spoiled. This is how Babylon, the Neo-Babylonian Empire, expanded. It became an empire. Okay, this had to go down. So, is this to be taken literal that these other nations were already in hell, and they're in a whole nother realm? These nations are in a whole nother realm, and they're communicating with the Egyptians. Come on, man. So you telling me that you know this is some witchcraft, like this is some familiar spirit type of shit going on, where they're communicating with nations that are in a whole nother realm? No. This is why you gotta get the understanding. This is no different than what it says in Isaiah 14. After the Lord, break the pomp of the rulers of this world, he's gonna take their power from them and bring their kingdom down, and the nations are even gonna look down upon them because they're gonna be like, damn, you just as weak as us. How you go from this pompous nation that had the whole world sown, you was in position of power in the most dominant nation. You ruled the world with an iron fist. You did all these things all over the world, ruled the nations in anger. But when the Lord actually takes away his power and brings him down, this is what the nations are going to be saying. Isaiah 14 and I'll start at verse 9. It says, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. All right, that's why, because all these nations, their dominion is pretty much over with. They already had their time to rule. So it's like they're pretty much that those old empires are dead. They're in the grave. The one that's left standing today, the modern day pharaoh of Egypt, Esau Edom, the beast with the whore riding it. That's what's left. So when this empire goes down, all right, all these other nations, they're gonna be like, oh shit, we didn't watch this devil have all this power. He had all this authority, and he's been brought down just like that. And remember, we know that Babylon, that rise of the beast, is going to be thrown down in 1 hour. And that's going to really knock away the power of the elite of Esau. It says, it have raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. Are you telling me that they're going to come up out of the grave? These nations going to be walking up out of the earth, or out of wherever you say this place is, describing Sheol. So they're going to come up out of the grave and then start taunting uh, the king of Babylon. Come on, man. They're going to be brought down to earth just like these other nations were brought down. It says, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. And the nations are seeing it. Esau is being weakened right now. His whole empire is decaying right now. Economically, socially, politically, the world sees this place as a joke now. Getting ready to go into war, and nations are picking sides. Mainly, they jumping on the Russia-China bandwagon. They could benefit more from that alliance than trusting in the West. So this place is dying out. It says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? I wonder what you say Lucifer is. How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? But thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will also sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. So we have that same proud attitude that Pharaoh of Egypt had. They get real pompous and real proud, when they're in position of power, when they're at the height of their power. All right, but the Lord, he puts down one to set up another. All right, it says, I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will also sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And he's in that position now. All right, he's in his so-called excellency. But he's in the process of being brought down. All right, he's not the Most High, but he thinks he's on that level. All right, it says, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell. It was the same thing said in Obadiah concerning the Edomites. All right, though you exalt yourself as the eagle, set your nest among the stars. He said, who shall bring me down? The Lord's going to bring you down to the sides of the pit. They that shall see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? And you did shake kingdoms. You made the earth to tremble. You caused all these wars. You intimidated nations, man. That made the world as a wilderness. You turned whole cities into a desolate waste and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened out the house of his prisoners. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, everyone in his own house. All right, so they're going to be, they're going to see it. How you're going to be brought all the way down, but you was just all the way at the top. All right. So this isn't talking about you going to a literal place in another realm somewhere, man. And the word right there is Sheol, for grave. All right, meaning your pride is brought down to naught, to nothing. Brought down basically into the earth. Okay? Just like when the Lord made mention of the city of Capernaum, how they were living real lavish and you know living, they basically they were known for having wealth, but the Lord even told them that they're going to be brought down to Hades, which is the Hebrew. It's a Hebrew equivalent. It's like your Hades is the Greek equivalent of the Hebrew word Sheol. In Matthew 11, yeah, Matthew 11 and verse 23 says, "And thou, Capernaum, which are exalted unto heaven, shall be brought down to hell." All right, you high and mighty, but you're gonna be brought down to nothing. I could turn your city that's booming. I could turn it into a ghost city. All right. He said, I'll bring it down to hell. It says, "For if the mighty works which have been done in thee had been done in Sodom, it would have remained unto this day. But I say unto you that it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom in the day of judgment than for thee." All right. Yeah, it's talking about our people that's at ease in Zion. All right. Those that deny the Lord and don't accept the gospel, it's gonna be a lot of people that's gonna be it's gonna be a lot of wailing, weeping, and gnashing of teeth. So anyway, going back to this, so it's a reason why he used, that terminology. All right, that he used Sha'al, and then down here where it says graves, it's talking about, a sepulcher, where you put the dead at. But this does not help your point if you're trying to teach this Sha'al doctrine. It's some realm where you're getting tormented, forever. And then when the scriptures talk about burning forever, it ain't talking about literally forever. Because if that's the case, then Sodom and Gomorrah will still be on fire to this very day. The smoke will still be going up. And also, it wouldn't make sense if this place is going to be destroyed and the smoke is going to go up forever and ever and ever. But then there's going to be desert creatures inhabiting that same place. So these desert creatures, are they going to be on fire all up in the smoke too? So, dude just have a lack of understanding, and he's lost. All right. And he came against us already, we tried to give him correction. So he's pretty much he's out there on his own, and he's wandering around, skirmishing around. And hey, who knows if he humbled down and actually received the understanding, but I doubt it, the way he's going. He turned into a damn scorner, and the scriptures say a scorner seeketh wisdom, but findeth it not. So, I thought I'd do a response, to that, him using that as his argument when that has nothing to do with that. All right. It can be, like I said, hell can be a state or condition in which, you're in misery, you're in torment, sorrow. It also can mean the grave. And then when you're in grave condition, man, it's like it's basically you're not well. You're not in a good position. You're not where you used to be. All right. So basically, Egypt was going to be in the same predicament with those other nations. So I hope this was under I hope this was edifying. I hope the understanding was received. And Lord willing, this was edifying. I'm gonna give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shem Shai. And to the next lesson, Shalom.